This episode of No Time Like Joe Time is sponsored by Fate in Flames on Kindle Vella. Rena has grown up sheltered and cut off from the world, caring for her ailing mother. When fate catches up with her, she is thrust into a world of magic and intrigue she never knew existed, and a heritage she is not quite sure of. Read Fate in Flames on Kindle Vella.
Welcome to No Time Like Joe Time, where TV gets deep for no reason. I'm Generic Joe, here to say the same thing each time before you listen to an episode. You can find No Time Like Joe Time wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm just that generous and kind of a guy. Please rate, please like, subscribe, and comment, because I'm magic. It also really helps grow the show, and I love the conversations I'm having. So maybe you can help your old friend Joe. Now, if you, and I mean just you, want to be a guest, you can email me at notimelikejoetime@gmail.com. Love to have you on, figure out what show you like, and then we'll have a meaningful discussion. All right, let's get to the episode.
Like what you are listening to? Check out Lazenlow on Spotify Music, a new and upcoming local band from Minnesota.
I'm going to First Avenue, what can I do?
Welcome to No Time Like Joe Time, where we are recruited into a group and have to go out and find new recruit to help pay fees for shows where we take wisdom out of. Some people call it a pyramid scheme. I don't. I prefer to call it a triangle scheme. I'm your host, Joe Johnson. Each week, I recruit a new guest to help me unpack a show. This week, I'm joined by an author, a musician, host of the podcast Your Best Friend Beth. Please welcome Elizabeth Gatlin as we look at The Office. Hey, welcome, Elizabeth, to my podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk about The Office with you.
Yeah, me too. You know, one thing I heard about The Office is there's a Michael Scott at every office. And if you can't find one, then you are Michael. Couldn't disagree more with that. My office is Michael Scott free. And I know I'm not Michael Scott. I mean, it's not like I'm from like North Carolina.
I'm from North Carolina.
No, you're not.
No, seriously, I'm from North Carolina.
Well, that's impossible because there is no North Carolina. There's a South Carolina.
Yeah, and North Carolina. That's where I live.
Oh, that's funny. When I type in North Carolina on Google, it just says U.S. state. Oh. This is this a recent addition to the country?
I mean, you know, since November 1789.
Sorry about that. I'm sure it's a beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I was just acting a little wacky there. You know, like somebody who plays the guitar. I mean, most people who play the guitar are a little too loony for me. Wackadoodles, I call them.
Yeah, I play the guitar too.
Of course you do. I'm so sorry. Hey, my brother-in-law plays the banjo. He's from East Virginia, right next to the other two Virginias.
Maybe we should just talk about The Office.
That's what she said. Thanks for being willing Thanks for sinking to that level with me.
That was fun.
The first time I did this with somebody new, I was so terrified because like the first 11 episodes were all people I knew, friends with. So I was like, let's do this. And then first new person, I was like, hi, can you do this bit with me where I act like a jackass? Thanks.
It's great. It makes me feel like Michael Scott, and that makes me feel happy.
Okay, good. Excellent. So yeah, I'm really, in all sincerity, actually, thank you for joining me on this. And it is surprising that this is the first request for The Office.
Yeah. I've been in a fan group where there's literally thousands and thousands of people in the group on Facebook.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I feel like I've talked to so many people recently who've just been huge Office fans. And I want to go back to it and watch it because I think when I was a little younger, I wasn't ready for that style of humor.
Yeah.
Like I was so uncomfortable.
How old were you when it came out?
I was mid-20s.
Okay, I think I was even younger. I think I might have been in high school at some point in high school.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, I think I was talking to this with one of my other friends. We were talking about the illusion of like stuff on TV. And when I was younger, there was this bit that the WWE did with like the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And they had this bit where Hulk Hogan came on the Tonight Show and like took over. And it was obviously a bit, but at the time when I was like 13, I thought it was real. And I was like, I used to respect Hulk Hogan until he did this. And so I'm not always good at. So I think I was like not able to take a step back and look at it as a comedy, instead looking at it as, oh, I'd be mortified if I was in that situation.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that watching The Office? Were you ever like, I'm so uncomfortable, but I love it? Or was it just funny?
You know, I think when it first got introduced to me, I was just in a space where I wasn't into stupid humor or such sarcasm. Like it rang very sarcastic and very, comedy to me, but I just wasn't into that sort of thing. So it didn't resonate and I didn't really invest my attention. So and I only tried to watch it maybe one time until the next time I watched it where I was like, oh, I'm hooked.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. This kind of sets up to the first real question here is what's kind of your history with The Office? When did you start watching it and what kind of made you want to pick this show for this podcast?
My cousin, she tried to get me to watch it for a long time. She introduced it to me and I just was like, eh. And then one day I was sitting at home, I was by myself. So anyway, I was a manager for McDonald's. I had 2 kids and I was in the house alone and that was very sacred time. So I was like wanting to watch TV, trying to just decompress. I was in a very bad depression during this time and I turned it on and I believe I started it maybe around season 4. And that's always been my favorite season from the get-go. And I remember laughing so hard I cried. And it just like awoke some emotions in me when I had been feeling so numb that week and just unable to really feel too much. And I laughed and I cried. And I'm like, it just, I don't know. It awoken something in me to a whole new world. As dramatic as that is.
No, I love that because I totally get it. Of like having something you watch and just awakens something in you. Like that's so well said. Because for me, one of the most recent ones that happened is a movie I watched called Words on Bathroom Walls. And it's about this high schooler who has schizophrenia. And it's like a really well representation of schizophrenia because a lot of people I work with have schizophrenia. And so it was kind of like, it was a movie where somebody with schizophrenia wasn't crazy or killer or just guy trying to get by. So, my history with The Office, I've seen some clips and I watched earlier on, like first season is usually where I stuck. And I was just like, I can't do this. This is so hard. But it's funny. I loved Parks and Recs. And
Yeah.
I know that's adjacent. And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of wanting to go back and start at season 2, just go from there.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the season I started with my cousin. She had showed me something from season 1 with The Office. And I was like, I just can't.
yeah,
But now I've watched every episode probably 45 times, going through
nice,
the seasons over and over and over again. And I love season 1 now. I don't know
nice.
why, but I love all of the seasons now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And is it kind of like a comfort show for you?
It's funny because in 2021, I believe it was 2020, the end of 2020, they took The Office off of whatever it was on Netflix or something like that.
Oh yeah,
And I was crushed, and I
yeah,
didn't want to buy the whole thing. Like I didn't have money to really spend on, things like that. And so I eventually realized it was on Peacock in 2021. Like it was maybe 9 months later. And I had just went through a move. My kid's dad and I had separated. So like I was feeling a lot of feelings and going through a difficult time. And I got Peacock and I watched that show and I literally
yeah.
felt my body flood with endorphins.
Oh, that's so
It was
sweet.
like a drug in a way, but
Yeah,
a good one.
that's awesome. I think you naturally set up perfectly first clip we pulled about like that moment when something can change you for the better.
Yeah.
And so this first clip is with Pam, and she's created some art and she's at an exhibit and things aren't going super well. And then Michael shows up. And so this is, I think, kind of a part of The Office that if you don't know very well, if you just are aware of like the uncomfortable humor, you'll miss like some of this really beautiful scenes.
Yeah.
So we'll watch that first clip.
Thanks for coming. Pam Casso. Sorry I'm late. I had to race across town.
Oh, Michael.
Wow. You did these freehand?
Yep.
My God, these could be tracings. Oh. Look at this one.
Thanks,
Wow.
Brandon.
You nailed it. How much?
What do you mean?
I don't see a price.
You want to buy it?
Well, yeah. Yeah, we have to have it for the office. I mean, there's my window and there's my car. Is that your car?
Uh-huh.
That is our building. And we sell paper. I'm really proud of you.
That is such a heartwarming scene.
I love it.
Yeah, I just love the I think they just set it up so nice where you see other people interacting and you just see on her face that rejection.
Yeah.
And just seeing Michael, and I love that Michael's like authentic about it.
Yeah. And
He's
that's
not-
what it feels like. It feels real.
Yeah, and just and just the little details that he like, the small things that make big things to him.
Hmm.
So one thing I learned recently, so last weekend, I went to Chicago for something called C2E2. It was like this big Comic-Con convention. And I went as Ted Lasso, because Ted Lasso. And there are a lot of people who were all out in cosplay. What I found out, what they really loved is A, if I'd be like, hey, can I take a picture with you? But then B, if I was like, hey, how did you do this? Like, how did you make that work? And they would get so excited. And it was just a way of saying, hey, good job.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a friend or a situation where you just felt the small act just made all the difference in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's funny because in this scene, I feel so much from Pam. Like, I've
Yes.
felt like Pam before,
Mm-hmm.
and in on both sides where it's like everyone around me, I see people connecting, and I see piece of like I'll see someone being seen for who they are and what they're putting out into the world, and it just makes you like it just makes you remember, oh yeah, like I'm alone. Dang.
Yeah.
But then you're sitting here with this beautiful stuff you've created, and you're just like waiting to be seen. I made this for others to enjoy. And
Yeah.
then somebody comes up and recognizes it. And not just recognizes it, but like it's kind of funny that he talks about, wow, it looks like it could be tracing. Like it's
Yeah.
almost silly, right? But that's his true, authentic perspective.
Yeah.
And just the realness of trying to connect from your own perspective is so beautiful. And it makes you feel
Uh,
so good as an artist. And it
yeah.
really would make me hug him too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, just yeah, that's a really good point of um sharing that perspective, because I always say my favorite kind of music is listening to your favorite kind of music through your eyes,
That's a nice one. Yeah.
and to see the world through somebody else's eyes, I think is very sacred.
I didn't realize how important it was until like in the last year.
Yeah. And so especially when like you're a musician and you're a writer, so you're putting yourself out there. There's like a piece of you that's going out there, and it's not just to be like, hey, I'm just doing a cash grab. It's a meaningful um part of you.
Yeah.
And I think if you understand that backstory, I mean, I love hearing the backstories of why people choose the shows they do. One of the people I had on recently, her mom was diagnosed with a form of Alzheimer's. It was like what Bruce Willis had, but
Hmm.
she deteriorated really quick, and they would always watch Taxi together during that time.
Yeah.
And so like she loved Taxi, and so just kind of seeing through that eyes, and just thinking about this too, about kind of what you're sharing with your struggles, and to know a show can make that much of a difference, it
Yeah.
like makes me want to watch this even more.
Right. Yeah, during that time, it was 2017 when I fell in love with this show. I mean, I was straight up suicidal. I didn't attempt,
Mm,
thankfully. I guess more so you could call it like suicidal ideation, where
yeah.
it's just the thoughts constantly attacking.
Mhm.
And I eventually like it led to drug addiction where it was like
Mm,
I was just trying to escape, you
yeah.
know? And I lost my job, I lost my car. You know,
Mm,
my kids, thank God, like I just had their dad took care of them and helped. And I saw them when I could. I saw them when I could mentally handle it. And it was like months and months of just struggling to stay alive. And it's funny, I watched this to stay alive. Whenever I was having those suicidal thoughts, I would
mm,
watch it to escape. And then I was doing the drug scene for a while deep in that, and I came out within I think it lasted about 6 months total, that really dark time. And then when I was coming off drugs for the last time, I went and stayed with a family member, and I watched the show while I was coming off drugs.
mhm.
And then I got myself together, I got my job back, I got an apartment. I was watching this show as I healed with my kids, and they
Yeah.
fell in love with the show. Like it's just been
Mm.
there for everything.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Is there like a episode or a season or something that just really resonated with you during that time?
Let's see. You know, I think it just depended on my mood
Sure.
and what I was looking for. Like if I needed to really have a good belly laugh where I needed to feel some super intense good feelings like that, it was always a Dwight episode doing something crazy. um like like where he did the fire alarm Crazy stuff. Between him and Jim, that was the best. But I really love, like, as I've gotten older, and I'm like, I guess you could say I'm in my soft girl era. I'm about to turn 33,
Mhm.
whereas I usually would plan something like a trip, or just I'm a planner, so I plan the fun in my life, even when it's on
Yeah.
my own birthday. This year, I just want to chill. I'm happy. I'm doing nothing. And during this time, I'm really enjoying watching Michael and Holly. Like, I'm single,
Mm.
so I guess maybe it's me like trying to manifest that sort of relationship or something. Like, I just want to
Yeah.
experience something like that, maybe. But I'm enjoying Michael and Holly's relationship and how it unfolds and everything. And that's been
Yeah.
super fun to watch.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's yeah, I love that. I mean, for me, it's just it's like I want to sit in that moment of that being such a difficult time in your life. I think about how a lot of times what I've noticed with my struggles is the world seems to like it more when I'm out of it and I just tell about it. Then they're like, "Oh, great, great." But when I'm in it, they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what to do for you." And so to be able to think about that moment and just not try to silver line it, not try to be like, hey, hey, at least it led to great things. Like, no, that hurt. It was a painful
Yeah.
time. And I think maybe The Office kind of lets us experience that
Yeah.
of this, hey, this is uncomfortable. Let's sit in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we probably need to do more in life. Just sitting with that uncomfortability, sitting with that.
Michael Scott really teaches a lot in his very weird ways. It's funny because he can come across as egotistical, obnoxious, completely rude, even as a bad person, just a straight up bad person sometimes.
Yeah.
But, like you had said something that resonated about when you're out of it and you're talking about it, the world wants to pat you on the back and
Yes.
shine light on that being out of it. But what I've been practicing in the last year and a half, 2 years or so, just getting better and better at it, is calling it out as I'm in it.
Mm,
And what I've recognized is the world kind of reflects back what's going on inside of you.
mm.
So when I sit in it and I don't, like, I want to hide from it, it feels as if the world doesn't recognize it, doesn't see it, doesn't want to see
Yes.
it. But I mean, in my experience, I can't speak for nobody else.
Right.
I think it really represents what I was feeling.
Yeah.
And as I've come to be like more authentic in whatever pain I feel or challenges I'm having, and I call it out, it's not from a place of look at me,
Yeah.
it's not from anywhere. It's from a genuine, authentic, I'm human. I'm having some trouble humaning, like, I'm just calling it out and let's see if anything or anybody can help. And
Mm.
so far it's been very beautiful. And I think Michael Scott is the epitome of just calling it out and
Yeah.
sitting in it, but like vocalizing it. And
Yes.
everything he needed came to him.
Yeah, exactly. No,
People that he needed came to him. It was great.
yeah, that is so well said. I agree. Like just when you are Mr. Rogers has a line of anything that is mentionable is manageable.
Mm,
And so I really like that take. And that's something like, it's just kind of dawning on me that is something strong about the office is that they do let you sit in that uncomfortability.
yeah.
And that's something I like doing in my life. That's how I've overcome a lot of my depression and anxiety and um, managed bipolar is by just sitting with it and being
Hmm.
like, yep, this is uncomfortable. I don't like it, but it leads to better things.
Yeah. It's like making friends with it. I mean, that's how it's felt
Yeah.
for me.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like it's funny on my other podcast, we were talking about finding the humor. And I was talking about night terrors because I'd have really bad night terrors.
Mm,
And they were really difficult. It was a really difficult season for me because my family didn't understand it was a medical condition. So
mm-hmm.
often I'd get in trouble if I had night terrors.
Oh, wow.
And so like I'd feel even worse. But when I kind of finally realized there's some funny in it and I started to coexist with the night terrors, it changed everything.
Wow.
So it's just, and that's the same with like my bipolar or when I was with depression, when I kind of came to the conclusion of like, we're going to coexist.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to define me.
Yeah.
Move forward. So
It's a very, it's a little bit relevant, but like I like the saying, what you resist persists.
Mm.
And then what you put your energy toward, like, what is it called? Is where energy goes. No, it's where your intention goes, energy flows. So it's like, instead of resisting and the challenge persisting, if I set the intention of being friends or healing or getting to know something, then that develops. Like there's a path that shifts or something. It's all about the tiny little unconscious thought that feels like such big shift.
I love that line you said. What you resist persists.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my instant go-to was like Sundays. I have such anxiety about work Monday, and I always kind of like hold on to the weekend as long as you can. And so I kind of like the idea of like, no, let's embrace tomorrow's Monday. What can I do? So that's a very meaningful line. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
When are you ever able to tell when you, like when you're watching something, do you know when you're like, I need a laugh right now, or I need something sentimental?
There's definitely a feeling attached for sure. And usually in this phase of life, it's like I've been trying to give myself what I need instead of seeking anything from someone else. So like, I'm about to turn 33 and I'm single, right? It's just one of the biggest things in my life right now that I think about. Not the biggest thing in my life, but that's what comes to mind often, because I've never been married. I had a relationship with my kid's dad. We were together for 10 years. And so it's just like, oh my God, I'm 33. I've never been married. Like those thoughts can happen.
Yeah.
So luckily I have a pretty good relationship with my brain. We work together, so it calms down and I give myself what I need. And so I've been, like if I'm in the mood where I'm like, hey, it would be so nice to have like a romantic date or, something of that nature. Like, it's so nice to be able to turn a movie on and I get to pick whatever man I want to see, like whatever kind of romance story I want, and have that little sentimental night and make my own food. And it's going to taste better than any food anybody can cook me anyway, because I'm a great cook. Or I'll take myself out to eat because I can do that. It's really beautiful to be able to do that. So yeah, I make my whole life I romanticize. If I need a good laugh too, it's the same thing. Yeah.
That's such a good example to live. It really is. That's so inspiring, because I think too often we are quick to give ourselves grief. I know I struggled a lot in my singleness of like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I a loser? And I don't think I treated myself well like that.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I bring that up because the other side of the opposite, and I think this is something a lot of us know, there is also a very humorous side to it, which is what it stands on. So I had to find a clip that had the signature line that my sister-in-law says still every time we have a family gathering. So this is a scene where Michael is talking with HR and some of his higher ups, and they're talking about like he can't just say anything. And so this is him talking to his staff about it.
Attention, everyone. Hello. Yes, I just want you to know that this is not my decision, but from here on out, we can no longer be friends. And when we talk about things here, we must only discuss work-associated things. And you can consider this my retirement from comedy. And in the future, if I want to say something funny or witty or do an impression, I will no longer ever do any of those things.
Does that include that's what she said?
Yes.
Wow, that is really hard. You really think you can go all day long? Well, you always left me satisfied and smiling, so.
That's what she said. You would have done the same. You just didn't think of it first.
Really,
That's
not my sense of humor.
okay. Hello, Jan, Mr. O'Malley. This is my lawyer, James P. Albini. I believe you may recognize his face from the billboards. He specializes in free speech issues.
And motorcycle head injuries, workers' comp, and diet pill lawsuits.
This guy does it all.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Michael, Mr. O'Malley is your lawyer.
What?
Mr. O'Malley is our corporate lawyer. We have him on retainer to protect the company as well as upper-level management, such as yourself.
So I'm not in trouble? I am so used to being the bad boy. I am so used to fighting corporate that I forget that I am corporate, upper management. They hooked me up with an attorney to protect me. You can't be too careful about what you say. More money, more problems.
Oh gosh, I can watch that so many times and just like we can no longer be friends. It reminds me of this like trend that's going on with social media where like a wife or a girlfriend will say like, so my husband just said he no longer loves me. And he's like, that's not what I said. You said we can't go to Disney World this year. Same thing.
Basically.
And there's so many things I love about that. I love how proud he is and that he did go for it still. And I also like he kind of gave one of them grief. Oh, you would have said it too. You just didn't think of it in time.
Right. And he genuinely believes it.
Yeah. And oh gosh, there's so many things I think about that. Well, one thing I was actually thinking about, something you said of how if you resist, it persists. And he was kind of resisting this. And like, if he would have just taken that time to understand a little bit more that they were actually there to help him,
mm-hmm.
not get him in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, on the other side, if he didn't resist, maybe stay on the other side of it. Because, they're there to help him, but really they're there to help themselves is like the perspective I have, right?
Yeah.
And if he would have said, oh, I'm going to get in trouble, I'm going to lose my job, I have to stop this nonsense, he would have changed the whole dynamic of everything.
Oh, sure.
So I kind of dig the fact what you resist persists when it comes to he's going to be who he is no matter what.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. I like that.
I dig it. Yeah. I
Definitely.
think that's the biggest thing that I take from Michael is we need grace, and that makes it okay for when we're just being authentic. I might be obnoxious sometimes. I'm a Michael when it comes to my family.
Yeah.
I can be, it's all in good humor and good intent, but I can be a jerk. I can be sarcastic.
Yeah.
I can say the wrong thing. I can be morbid, and it's all in good intentions and love though. And I get grace, thankfully. And I keep in the trajectory I am of just bettering and bettering and bettering myself and growing and all of that, because I resist the norm or whatever I think the norm is. I just want to be myself. And it's nice to have the environment to be able to do that.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the idea of, to be authentic and to have those around you who can appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
Because I think, one thing I kind of think about is I do get very nervous when I've ever been at a company and they're like, we're like family. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because every time I've heard that, immediately after there's been mass layoffs. And I think they're using it as hey, we're just trying to take care of the family overall. And almost, I don't want to say manipulation, but kind of a manipulation.
Yeah.
And so I do like the idea of like you said, like they're helping him, even though they're probably just helping themselves. And he's kind of resisting that. And he's like, no, this is who I need to be, and kind of stand strong, because the world sure sometimes wants us to change, or at least it can feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think is do you have a like highlight wheel of like funniest office moments?
There's so many.
Mm-hmm.
I think one that comes to mind, number one that I love to watch, is Toby leaving to Costa Rica.
Oh,
And that's where Holly comes in, and Jim and Pam, they're in between getting serious, and he might propose and things like that. I mean, so many funny things happen in that episode. You have Michael Scott singing one of his infamous parody songs to Toby. You have Michael finding out that Jan's pregnant, thinking it's his baby. Yeah, you have Dwight and Angela getting caught doing it in the office.
Oh my gosh.
By Phyllis.
Yeah.
There's so many great things that happen. You have Dwight getting a porcupine, I believe it is, in Holly's car as like a form of hazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. There's one scene I really like. And it's the fire one, because I was watching that clip, and what kind of got me going is the Angela, like everybody's getting stuff. Angela opens up a drawer and there's a cat in there.
Yes.
And then like somebody's going up on the ceiling, and she's like, "Take the cat," and throws it up, and you just see the cat first down.
Great.
There's another surprise clip I'd actually like to play.
Okay.
Because I think it shows the impact of the office and that it had. So this is actually from what was it? Emmys? When Conan O'Brien hosted.
Okay, I don't know that I've seen this. I can't wait.
And he enters Dufflin.
Damn it, Jim! No, I did not have Conan O'Brien fall through the ceiling.
All right. Okay, I just need someone to tell me, how do I get to the Emmys?
Wait. Practice.
Pam is very attractive, no question. I mean, if I didn't have an award show to host, I could easily see having 2 or 3 seasons of will they, won't they sexual tension that ultimately goes nowhere.
I'm gonna go. I should go, but I'm sorry.
Because you can't get anywhere without practice.
One, just the influence The Office has. The other thing I was thinking about is John. Oh, I'm gonna mess up his last name. How do you say his last name? John
Chris.
Jim from The Office.
There we go.
So he actually used to be an intern on Conan O'Brien.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Conan O'Brien is infamously, or no, I should say famously known for, like, he treats the staff really well. He gives them hell, like in a silly, like goofy way, but he's always been really good to the interns. He always wants to put on the show. And when John got The Office and he made her first appearance on Conan, at the commercial break, you can see Conan lean over and tell John, "I'm so proud of you."
Aww.
And you just see John kind of get emotional, and just like a huge, and I think that kind of captures the I mean, I think that's what I love in shows. I love shows that are meaningful but funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how better to connect with people than to give them a very memorable emotion,
Yeah.
you know? Like, that's gonna last, like, a lifetime for me, forever, for my kids, and I bet their kids, if they ever have kids themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna literally last generations. You know, the Facebook group, the fan group I mentioned when we first started talking, I mean, thousands and thousands of people in that group, and I've never been one to do a fan club. There's only 2 shows I've done this about, and this is the one. And people would post, and it would be like they would be talking about their mental health and the struggles they were having and how the office helped them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would just post to post and not even talking about the office, but just about their mental health because the group offered such awesome support and would just comment really incredible things. And
yeah.
I remember one day there was a lot of people talking and just being so helpful with this one person. And I don't know why, but I'm a very free spirit. I decided to post a song I had sang, and it was a meaningful song. It was it felt very just meaningful for the group. And I was like, I know this is weird, guys, but I'm posting this for y'all. Y'all have helped me so much. I see you helping so many people, and I just really love this group. And it was like 1,000 comments and likes on that. It's the only time I ever felt like I went viral.
Yeah, that's
But
amazing.
it was so awesome. Like, that's what The Office does for people, like, really connects people together, connects them with the show, I mean, the actors are all connected very much so even still. You got the podcast ladies. I mean, everybody, it's just, I don't know what it is exactly other than I feel like they all were so authentically them. Even though they're playing characters, they brought a piece of themselves, and you can really feel that.
Definitely. I've heard that a lot about The Office, just like it was a really good set to be on and just a lot of really good people. And and I almost feel like, because I know just the connection with Conan O'Brien, and like he's had a lot of conversations with Conan. John talks about, when he went to LA to try to become this actor, he told his mom, like, I don't remember. He's like, hey, I'm going to try this for like 2 years or a year or something like that. If it doesn't work, I'll come back home. And he was waiting tables and just nothing was happening. And he had like 1 month left, but he called his mom and he was like, I think I'm just going to come home. And she goes, not yet. Just stay another month. See what happens. And then he got The Office.
Wow.
And so it just that encouragement. And I think he brings that spirit. And then I love that not only is there an impact even before the show starts, there's the impact that the show has, and it's still living today. It's taken on a life of its own. And I mean, that's kind of why I started this podcast, because I started to see like shows aren't just shows to me.
Yeah.
There's something deeper inside. There's times where I'm like, oh, that's how I feel. And I've never been able to put it to words.
That's a good way to put it.
So yeah, that's so cool. And I'm so glad you had this with The Office. And that's awesome. You don't always find great groups on Facebook. I've tried a few, and it's like, hey, I got a question for you. Have you ever heard of Google? And I'm like,
you're right. It's not every, I mean, I've never really been interested in connecting with people online as far as Facebook groups, TV shows, none of that. It never was of any interest to me. But, I think The Office really pulls a certain kind of crowd in. And it's not people that, are in it for the stupid humor that just want to be stupid. Like it's people of substance, that have been through things and come out things or going through things and are seeking something more greater and more beautiful than the pain they feel. That's a good kind of person to be around.
That's awesome. I love that. And I feel like that's the kind of person you are. So it totally makes sense why you are into The Office.
Well, I think that's you too. It seems to be.
Oh, thanks. I definitely am more like, I feel like each time I do this, I'm like, there's another show I really want to watch now. but that is okay with me. If you were to tell somebody who hasn't watched The Office, give them a reason why they should, what would be your pitch to like, here's why you should watch The Office?
Well, let me think of the 1,000 things I've said to somebody else before. All of the characters represent a part of you. Like they make up so many different parts of that's in a person. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but everybody has a Dwight, everybody has a Michael, everybody has an Angela, everybody has a Phyllis, a Pam, a Jim. And if you can't recognize that, it's worth watching the show just to get to know yourself more and see if you can awaken some of those parts in you. And I don't know if that's too out there in thinking, but I love that part of it. I love seeing, I recognize that part of me. And do I like it? Do I not like it? What can I do to get to know that part? How can I bring that part out of me more? And it's just been such a beautiful experience.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's perfectly said. And I sent you this song, but I want to read a lyric from it. There's a band who loves The Office called AJR, and they wrote a whole song on it called Netflix Trip. And the whole song is about like where he was in life during The Office. And one of the towards the end lines says, "Now the finale's done and I'm alone. I'm on a Netflix trip here on my phone, but who I am is in these episodes. So don't you tell me it's just a show." And I love that line so much because just like you said, there's like you learn to see yourself. And I think that's what makes really good media and really good. I know for me growing up, I understood the world through TV shows. Because I was definitely a loner. I was very quiet and I just watched TV. And so I started to understand the world through TV lens. And part of the quick story, the reason this podcast started is one of my last jobs I worked at, like I always will use shows to reference a point. So like I think one of the most common ones I do is like where I work right now. There can be some very difficult people served. And I was sitting next to my cube mate and she was trying to talk to somebody who was going through stuff and he was yelling at her, swearing at her, and then hung up on her. And I could tell it was weighing on her, but the first thing out of her mouth was, "I just want what's best for him." And I was like, that's awesome because it reminds me of the Scrubs episode where JD, doctor, comes in. He's trying to talk to this grumpy old man. He's like, "Sir, if there's anything I can do to help." And Carla, the nurse, is like, don't bother JD. And JD's like, "No, sir, if there's anything I can do to make your visit more comfortable, just say the word." And the guy goes, "You can kiss my man-sized butt." JD goes, "Will you hold me afterwards?" and then the rest of the episode is kind of JD avoiding him and kind of having Carla do all the busy work. But then he ends up dying. And so they have a medical conference to see if JD's responsible. And they're like, nope, you gave all the right medications. JD's kind of like, "Well, can we still talk about this a little more?" And they're like, "What? No." But then Dr. Cox, his mentor, comes along. He's like, "It's easy to treat, the good ones, the nice people, but the druggies, the users, the abusers, the jerks, you got to help them too." And just like that's a thing we have to remember at our job. Like we have to help everyone.
Yeah.
So when I was leaving that job, they were like, "We'll miss your TV show references." And I'm like, actually. So I have some questions I ask every guest towards the end, but is there anything else you want to cover or you feel like we didn't cover before we move along?
I feel satisfied. I think this has been wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. Agreed. So first question I have for you is, which clip did you enjoy the most?
I'm not going to lie, that Conan O'Brien That was great. I didn't expect that, but that's what she said gets me every time.
Yeah, I agree with you. That just it's just everything about that scene gets me. Next question is which clip did you feel like we got more conversation out of?
I think that's what she said flowed into something I didn't expect probably more, and that was nice.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that one as well. It was just kind of a nice, and it's funny, it always seems to happen with the clips. I'm like, oh, is there enough substance here?
Yeah.
That end up leading to the best conversations. And then final question is, if you had to pick one of these clips to do just a deep dive where we just like comb every scene, every like camera angle, everything, which clip would you pick?
Probably the first one. There's so much to unpack and to know.
Yeah, agreed. Me too. So before we officially wrap up, I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing. I know you just came out with the children's book, which is just a lovely concept. And you're a musician and started your own podcast. So I want you to feel free just to promote all of it, any of it, whatever you want to do.
Okay, yeah. So I was a musician for the last couple of years, and I wanted to hone in on what really inspires me to do it because I love to sing, but what I'm really passionate about is connecting with people and helping others do something great themselves, whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be music. And I feel like my gift is recognizing the beauty in other people, and I want to just bring that out. So for some reason, a children's book came to mind a few months ago, and it was this way to really put in a book. I call it like, it's kind of like my business card. Like that children's book is who I am in the most simplistic way.
Yeah.
It's called I Want to Be Wild. And WILD is an acronym. And in short, it stands for being willing, imaginative, loving, and deciding. And that's what I've been spending my year doing, just deciding, because, I've been on this healing path. So I've unbecome a lot of things. And now it's my time to become what, my desires are to become. So if I spend too much imagining time and trying to just, make everything look how I thought it should look, it's just too much. So I've just been in that decide era. So what I've decided is to write another book. I'm working on a journal right now. And I am doing a podcast. It's called Your Best Friend Beth. There's a YouTube channel and a podcast for the same thing. You can watch or listen. And that's just this quick 10 to 15 minute episodes where I'm just sharing lessons that I've learned through mental health and just things that I feel like would resonate in that field. I am doing public speaking. Nice. But mostly I'm just being like a friend. I'm just being a friend and seeing who I can connect with and just creating whatever comes to my heart to create. And so far things are good and feeling like I'm on the right path, and I have no idea where that'll be next year, but I'm enjoying the ride.
I think it's going to go somewhere brilliant. I think a couple of things I want to add to that. One is I was listening to your podcast, and I found I cannot carry a podcast on my own. I do not have that ability. I need somebody to like go off. But you, like, it is so like comforting to listen to. You just sound so positive, and it's just like you do feel like you're sitting with a friend.
That is the sweetest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, yeah, it was really nice. So like I was just like, oh, and I was a little jealous of your audio sound too. I'm like, she sounds great. That's so nice. And so like if you need a friend, listen to this. Even if you have a lot of friends, listen to it. And then I also liked what you said with the book. It's not just a kid's book. It can be for everybody. And so I think that's all really beautiful. And just, sometimes it's the simple things we need to hear. Where are some places people can find you?
So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of it is Your Best Friend Beth, or I'm sorry, Instagram is Your BS Beth, but you could probably Google me and something will pop up. But yeah, Your Best Friend Beth is on Spotify, YouTube, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all the
Perfect.
things.
And I'll put links in the show notes so you can find it easier. Go get the book for you or the kids. Is it out already?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Perfect. We'll pick that up. And then listen to the podcast. Tell her Joe sent you just to make me feel cool. But perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing part of yourself with us and just sharing your passion and just being who you are. And I think the world desperately needs more people like you. And so I'm glad we have you.
Right back at you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome. And I'm going to look forward to being your friend now.
Excellent. I love it. And hopefully we can have you back on in the future.
Yeah, definitely. The Walking Dead. Nobody else gets that slot.
Yeah. Sounds good. I say this every time. Secretly, I really hope after I'm done recording the guest list, I'm never coming back ever. Hasn't happened yet.
We'll see what I think.
All right. That sounds good. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.